welcome to techTALK, a technology podcast focused on all things fulfillment. techTALK brings experts from different fields to discuss and tackle problems shippers face to offer technological solutions to simplify the fulfillment process. I am your host, Nathan Gooby, Director of Small Parcel and Shipping Solutions at Techdinamics Integrations. And today we're going to be talking about shipping. Shipping is an essential component of countless businesses worldwide, and it plays a pivotal role in connecting products with customers. But have you ever wondered how some companies manage to not only cover their shipping costs, but turn it into a profitable venture? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today. Throughout this episode, we'll be discussing the strategies, techniques, and insights that can help businesses, both large and small, thrive in the shipping industry. From optimizing packaging and inventory management to negotiating favorable rates with carriers, we'll leave no stone unturned. We'll cover the secrets of successful rate shopping, freight markups, and effective negotiation, all of which can make a significant impact on the bottom line. We'll also explore the role of technology, automation, and data analytics in streamlining shipping operations and boosting profitability. We'll dive into the world of international shipping and explore the opportunities and challenges it presents for businesses seeking to expand their reach. And of course, we'll explore the crucial link between customer satisfaction and shipping profitability, as delivering an exceptional shipping experience can translate into loyal customers and increase revenue. In today's episode, we are joined by Rob Zavitz, VP of Sales at Point B Solutions, Bailey Clark, Director of Partnerships at eHUB, and Reg Adams, President of Techdinamics. This panel of experts will share valuable insights and practical tips to help you make money shipping. The best part? Our panel will demonstrate how 3PLs and distributors can leverage these practical tips and technology today. Welcome to our panel, and thank you for joining us today. Well, Bailey, let's start with you. Please tell us a little bit about eHUB and what it is you do there.
Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Bailey, and I work as the Director of Partnerships, as Nathan said. I work with our supply chain technology partners to contribute to eHUB's overall growth and success. And a bit more about eHUB. So eHUB is actually a single point API that provides merchants and partners a host of shipping solutions. These solutions range from industry best shipping rates to carrier optimization audits, 24/7 US-based carrier and customer support, integrations and development, reporting and analytics, and access to the eHUB fulfillment network.
Awesome. Thanks, Bailey. Okay, Rob, you're next. Tell us about Point B Solutions and your role at Point B.
Great. Thanks, Nathan. As you said earlier, my role today is as VP of Sales, but for the last 6 years, I've been the VP of Operations at Point B Solutions. We started as a 3PL back in 2008 to support our owner's print clients as he was in the commercial printing business. The business continued to grow on its own and adding non-print accounts through 2017 when the owner and I jumped in to really try to scale the business. We work with around 50 clients in varying industries and manage both B2C and B2B for most of them. We're a relatively small fulfillment operation with just 80,000 square feet in Minneapolis and process anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 orders a day across 2 shifts. We also have value-added services in tech development, promo and merchandise, and a large kitting operation. In 2020, we acquired a full-service commercial printing company and now have those 5 pillars all under one company. We've worked with Techdinamics since 2018 and eHUB since 2020. One interesting note is that we've switched WMS platforms in the last couple of years, which really helped us operationally while maintaining and improving our use of Techdinamics and eHUB's tools and services.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Okay, Reg, tell us about Techdinamics and everything you do there.
I'm not sure I can keep up with these two on the panel here. That's pretty heavy. But, yeah, my name is Reg Adams. I'm president of Techdinamics and co-founder. Techdinamics is a 25-year-old global technology company. You know, our team says we're obsessed with simplifying fulfillment, and it's like part of our DNA. So we concentrate on that very heavily. It totally kind of defines where we're going in the market, simplified fulfillment. Today, we have operations in Europe, South America, Southeast Asia, and North America. And we really concentrate globally on system integrations worldwide for 3PLs, distribution centers, and retailers across the globe. Our customers will manage any system to any system to help the customers regardless of who they're doing business with. The main focus on Techdinamics side is to help automate the customer's order processing from order capture in the beginning all the way through to final mile. So work with the WMS, ERPs, front end and back end to speed up their processes and help them become more efficient. Our clients really view us as an extension of their IT. So we like to keep it that way, and we're there to support them in any new customer business adventure that they're taking on, whether it's processing orders. We just want to help them get rid of manual effort and streamline the process. We'll integrate our technologies to customers their already existing tech stack, and I think that's the key. We don't want them changing what they have to do. We'll integrate to their tech stack, both the front end. It's either by using what we call our integrated flow technology or our tech OMS technology. And then on the back end, obviously using our TechShip shipping platform as a solution. Our goal is to really help our customers create what we call the perfect order process and take it from there.
Perfect. Thanks everybody for introducing yourselves and your respective companies. Sounds like we've got some heavy hitters on the panel today. I'm excited to dive into it. Our first point of discussion revolves around optimizing packaging and dimensions. Obviously, efficient packaging not only protects the products, but also minimizes costs. By utilizing appropriate packaging, materials, and the right size packaging, businesses can reduce both shipping costs and material expenses. I think we're all aware of that. Additionally, optimizing product dimensions can help decrease volumetric weight, resulting in a lower shipping cost again. So Rob, we're looking to you for your expertise here. What are some key strategies or best practices that companies can employ to optimize their shipping operations and help increase that profitability?
Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, that's a big one here. And where we've really found success is when we've been brought in early by our clients to help them in the design, or if not the design of the product, the packaging, and then the outer packaging that may go around that for its shipping. Really considering the dimensions of the product, whether it's going to be going into an overbox, the fill that will be going into it and required to keep the product protected, and making sure that it's on brand for our client, whether that be that they're really focused on sustainability, really want the low cost, they want a boutique type of an experience, and really that experience of opening the box. Those all play into what you're trying to design for the packaging, which then will then impact your cost for shipping. When we're able to help them to understand the dimensional weight and how the carriers price things between FedEx and UPS or USPS or all the other carriers, and even considering cubic pricing, where you are considering how you set up your boxes so that you can meet the best cubic pricing to get the best overall pricing from all the carriers. We've actually even tailored our boxes to be optimized for minimizing the dimensions, fill, and weight while protecting the product. Too many times we're brought in very late in the process and it's too late to adjust things, so we have to do the best we can. When we really add value is when we get in early and can really advise them as a ½ inch or a dimension or a tenth of a pound can have a real significant impact on the freight cost.
Great. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I don't think people realize how important the packaging is sometimes. They just see the package show up at their door, but you guys seem to have it down to a science over there at Point B. Obviously, one crucial aspect of making money in shipping is using the right technology. Technology is obviously everywhere in the supply chain today. So, Reg, discuss if technology and shipping can help complement the warehouse management system and the order pick process?
Yeah, that's kind of a $1 million process, right? It really gets all down to the right tech stack and how you're using it and what you're using from that standpoint. And, example, you referenced shipping. Any system can print a label today. And that's what we've seen a lot of in the past. There's been, there's hundreds of suppliers that can generate a carrier label. But the key issue, what it comes down today, is can they apply the correct rules or cover the customer's needs all at the same time? As we often reference a scan and go process. Rob talked about the right packaging. We want to be able to scan that ticket, create a carrier label, and out the door goes, regardless of the rules and requirements needed. You take a 3PL example in the environment Rob works in, you could have a typical 3PL. They could have anywhere from 60 to 70 different customers in the same building, and each has their own maybe half a dozen, 7, 12 different order sources. What I mean by order sources is orders coming in from Amazon, Costco online, Walmart Marketplace, their own Shopify's, dealers, distributors. This makes for a very complicated process on customer demands and requirements. So it's crucial there to be able to cover that. The shipping software also needs to be fully integrated to the ERP and the WMS. This standalone process from the old days doesn't work and it can't exist in today's world. And now we even need to integrate in the shipping software to the OMS. All the systems need to be embedded. It's kind of like Apple. We say, what makes Apple? Is it the software or the base software, or is it the thousands of apps that you can add to Apple that allow you to do so many more things with it from that standpoint? So it's a multiple of systems integrations that works. I often refer to, Red Bull and how Formula One, they're kicking butt right now across the board. But when you look at it under that hood, it's not one brand. There's 12 different technologies working there to make that car run faster and more efficiently. And that's what we want to do from a WMS standpoint. Even in the case of OMS, it needs to tap now into the shipping solutions. So it's not just WMS, OMS as well. And so they're taking a look at the correct warehouse to have the order picked from and shipped from. What's the best rates related to that order? Should it be the Arizona warehouse? Should it be the Nevada warehouse? And so we need to run checks from inventory, what's in the buildings, and where's the closest place to economically ship from. So that's the part of being embedded that we're talking about. Shipping solutions also need to really be able to read the batch file or what's going on inside the WMS. It's just not as simple as picking an order, scanning it, and creating a label. We want to look upstream. We want to see what's coming. A good example we use is we have a client that ships fishing kits for Costco online, and they could have, it could be 2,000 orders dropped in a wave pick on a Monday morning. So the shipping solution has to look at that wave, see that it's Costco, see that it's going to use Costco's third-party UPS account. At the same time, the warehouse is picking the wave, 200 per pallet. They're taking it to a staging area. Those 2,000 labels have already been printed. Boom, 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 on they go, and they're out the door in about an hour, hour and a half. It doesn't even go to a pack line in that case of that wave. Or the shipping software can't, if the shipping software can't see all the orders in the WMS, how do we really make the correct decisions? For example, we've got hundreds of orders going from New Jersey to California. The shipping software needs to see the batch, see that it's all going to California, and maybe we're going to zone skip. Maybe we're going to create a new induction point. Instead of New Jersey to California, we're going to create an LA outbound zone 1 delivery to get a cheaper label versus the more expensive shipment, middle mile, final mile, zone 1, then New Jersey to LA from that standpoint. So that's just another example. And one of the big examples that we talk about from being embedded in the systems talking together is we use the example of subscription models. Everybody's in pharma, vitamins, makeup replenishment. Each month they get a replenishment order. So I may have 30,000 orders showing up in the WMS on the first Monday of every month. this truly needs to be embedded. We need to take a look at the best way to ship this. We need to take a look at how we're going to be processing that many orders all at once in one day, the next day, putting them out the door. And then we even take it one step further and we integrate not just between the WMS and the shipping software, but maybe even to the bagging machines. Those items are coming down the conveyor, the bagger's being blown open, the items are being dropped into the bag. In our case, TechShip has already received the information from the WMS. It's already rate shopped the labels, and it instantly hits the bagger that fast with a label, closes it off, and drops it into the FedEx bin or the US Postal Service bin, whichever way it's being directed to ship. So now we have a three-way integration there. So the systems are all talking to each other. It's very critical how we select that tech stack and how we get the tech stacks talking to each other to help you save labor and costs and shipping from a shipping expense standpoint.
Reg, do you mind if I dovetail off your point really quickly?
Sure.
So, when you talk about subscription companies, I just want to make a note of this really quickly, because what we're talking about is making shipping profitable. And this is a mistake I've seen in the past, but when you embed your system and your technology starts talking to itself, and you have a company like eHUB on the back end that's providing you with a multitude of carrier contracts. If you are a subscription company, you have the ability to plan out when your end customer should receive their subscription package. So I've seen subscription companies in the past use like same day, next day delivery. An easy way of mitigating a lot of cost in that sense is going ground and just shipping like 7 to 9 days prior to the subscription being needed by the customer. I just want to make a note of that, because that's an interesting concept.
Great point there, Bailey, because we're backing into it then from that standpoint, right? We take a look at the demand. The demand is for 30,000 packages to be delivered by, say, that first Thursday of the month. And now we back into that. And Rob, you're familiar with this. You guys do this all the time, but you back into this. And they're now, instead of picking it 2 days before, where I'm paying for 2 or 3 days service, I'm picking it the week or 10 days before, and I'm putting it out the door so that they're receiving it when they want it, but at a much more efficient ground and service cost level.
Yeah, the ground compared to the same day, next day cost is about 1/3. So it's a good rule of thumb to keep in mind.
Yeah, great point. Thanks, Reg. Thanks, Bailey. I don't know, Rob, if you'd have anything to add to what Reg said there about technology and implementing it to get the right process.
Absolutely. Really by implementing and integrating our WMS with TechShip has enabled us to manage some really complicated clients, processes, and channels, all while reducing our labor on things where the human doesn't really add value. Excuse me. We reduced our time to box and ship an order by more than 50%. The first big thing was having TechShip rate shop our orders by service rather than having a human pull up rates and select one. They don't need to if you set it all up right from the beginning. The second is in cartonizing the order before we go out and pick. So we pick right into the shipping vessel that we will use to ship the order. This saves us a ton of time. Then our WMS passes that box and weight to TechShip to eliminate hand keying or scanning of this information into TechShip. And in addition, and talking about the tech stack that Reg touched on, not only do we integrate it with our WMS, but for our print and our kitting operations, which end up creating huge distributions, we also are able to plug in there and offer rate shopping to do the things like Bailey said. It's really is it about timing on how quickly they get the order? Is it about going for the best rate? Before, we used to do those distributions simply using, it's all going to go FedEx ground and print all the labels out. Now we can really rate shop it, go with multiple carriers, and be able to track all those costs and tracking information right back to our client, and then report on when things are delivered. This added level of service that we can do through TechTrack really provides value to our customers and shows a different level of capability than most of our clients have had at past companies that were supplying the service for them.
Interesting. So yeah, it seems like full picture, obviously, going back over that conversation, the 3PLs making the decisions on how to set the client up when it's a new client. And then you need the right technology to be able to set those rules, pick the right packaging, things of that nature. And then obviously from the shipping side to be able to pick the right carriers. Maybe you don't always need a, same day carrier or what it may be, but all those pieces together kind of have to work. Okay, now let's talk about streamlining kind of the shipping process a little bit more. Efficiency is obviously key when it comes to reducing labor costs and improving shipping time. By implementing streamlined order processing, picking, and packing procedures, businesses can save time and money while providing faster service to their customers. So maybe, Rob, you can dive into this with, what you've done with your customers and things of that nature.
Sure. Yeah, I covered some of the things that we've done already in the previous comments, but I'll go a little bit deeper. It sounds really simple, but our packers were taking product out of the bins, off the carts, deciding on a box, packing that box, and figuring out the dimensions and keying that into the system, and then going to TechShip to run the labels. Now we pull the order off the cart, scan it into TechShip with the license plate, with the dimensions from the WMS, add void fill, and seal the box, all while the label spits out before we're done with this. So it's really speeds up that process. We're seeing that we're saving over a minute per order. We're not, as I mentioned earlier, we're not the largest fulfillment center, and we don't have robots running everywhere. So we had to use pieces of technology to improve us where we could, meet us where we're at, and enable us to grow down the line. Not only has this made us quicker, we've also improved accuracy, all while doing more with the same amount of people. That's a big common thing that we try to say at Point B is we don't want to do more with less. We want to do more with the same and keep our people working. This has really enabled us to scale much more easily, as we don't need to add people as quickly as we would have had we not implemented these pieces of technology and process improvement.
Great. And I think, oh, sorry, go ahead, Reg.
No, Nathan, I wanted to add to Rob's comment there, because even from a technology standpoint, you're constantly evolving, right? One of the key things that's happening now, and it spins off what Rob said, is we took it one step further, is, we're even looking at what we call containerization, right? And this is really important, where the shipping software is talking with the WMS from that standpoint. So we'll pull a wave order or a batch process. Could be 500 orders in that batch, could be 50, but whatever the batch size is. And it will take a look at that between the two systems, see where it's going, see the size of the product, take a look at each individual order, and create a carrier label, a packing slip. And on the packing slip, the containerization will tell you what items to put in what boxes. So consequently, because we were already laying out items packed to boxes, we were able to create the carrier labels up front. So carrier label, packing slip, where to walk in the warehouse to pick it, in what order to pick it, and what box to put it into. The scan going into the box is your QC check. And in this case, we never even went to the WMS pick ticket. We never used the pick ticket. We went right to carrier label, packing slip, and label and out the door. From that standpoint, it never goes to a pack station. So it saves. Now, you can't use that process with every customer in the building, but you want to be able to have the flexibility to do some for this customer versus this process for another customer. And that's key back to the whole conversation of the two systems working together and talking to each other.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, from what Rob said, saving a minute an order, I'm sure any warehouse would love that. Okay, so obviously, as our conversation has been going on, technology plays a vital role in making shipping profitable. The use of shipping software, automation tools, and tracking systems can significantly enhance efficiency and accuracy. Through these technologies, enable businesses to manage shipping operations more effectively, track shipments in real time, and identify areas for improvement. Reg, maybe you can explain a little bit how Techdinamics technology can help in those areas.
Well, that's a big conversation there, and I appreciate the comments on Techdinamics and TechShip, and and Rob's comments earlier, but it comes down to multiple systems, right? And investments into your technology, regardless of which system you're using from that standpoint. And look, we all know the elephant in the room when it comes to e-commerce, retail e-commerce, and you have to give them credit where credit is due. Amazon wrote the book and is telling the story. They went from 5 to 7 days to 3 to 4 days to 1 to 2 days to next day to even same day.
Mhm.
And they're tracking every shipment for the consumer to give the consumer that new experience. So they broke the mold. They got away from the retail big box, and they set a new stage that everybody had to follow. And they did it with hundreds of millions of dollars in investments in technology. And they also have done things like gone from being primary carrier using one carrier, like they used to use UPS for a large part of their volumes. Now, because they rate shop with their technology, they're rate shopping everything that goes out that door, even when it goes on their own trucks routed for their own local fleet from that standpoint. And so very little is actually going out UPS now, because they found out through technology again that different regional carriers are better to handle here. Different, it may be a US Postal Service move, it may be a UPS move, it may be on a local truck, it may be on a same day truck. They're using their technology very wisely. Consequently, UPS has lost some business there, but it's a better play for them and their customer, and being able to give their customer the experience and visibility of where everything is. It was, in their case, it's been all about technology. However, I say that with a grain of salt, because pre-COVID now, the rest of the world is catching up and catching up fast. 3PLs, brands, and other retailers have had to invest into that sort of technology just to keep up with that, with the retail models and the benchmarks, right, from that standpoint. And I would have to say that 3PLs have made the largest investment in technology of anybody, especially in the prior year. And it looks like this year they're going to lead the pack again with investment in new technologies. They need to be fully integrated to keep up. They need to be fully integrated as well. And we touched on robotics. They need better shipping solutions, order management, and now even tracking solutions, where it was good enough to be able to give it to the carrier, let the customer go to the carrier's portal to track it. It doesn't work anymore. Now we're even using webhooks, updating the brand's portal so they can see where the shipment is at any given time. It's all about information for the consumer experience, and that's what everyone is selling to now. And how do they measure up to it? So that's a key item. On our side, it's critical we try to bring customers several options in the shipping solution. You don't always have the best, but you have to keep developing that technology and working with the customer to be able to do so. And, we referenced earlier that it's not just about the cheapest, from that standpoint. There's other factors that come into play. There's different customer demands like that drive different needs: transit times, bulk orders, zone skipping, air skipping, temperature sensitive, hazmat, battery contents. How is it handled from a good shipping solution? I mean, this has to be embedded with the WMS, and that's where the technology success comes into play. And we have also found the need, and again, they set the bar, so we had to track it, right, from that standpoint. No pun intended. We're now tracking those shipments, right, from that standpoint. And we're embedding TechShip with what's called OMR. OMR is what we call order management rules capability. And it's just not us, multiple folks are doing it, but this is where the warehouse needs to be able to write rules based off SKU, based off destination, based off zone, based off weight, without having to go back to the providers to get everything hard-coded. They need to be able to go in, and they need to be able to do that on their own, so they have speed and efficiency. Then again, it's like we talked about tracking. You need to measure that performance, right? Is the carrier really performing or not? So we're using, as Rob referenced, techTALK in this case, where we actually, when we launch techTALK, it's basically saying, Mr. Carrier, if we're shipping out 40,000 shipments, I don't have time to look up each one of these shipments, but I do want to know where my problems are. Did the shipments get inducted into the carrier with a simple report at the first of the week? Well, here's 20 shipments that didn't. What happened to those shipments? Maybe they're still sitting on the dock. Maybe they were given, maybe they weren't picked yet and somebody marked them as picked, So that information is key. And by tracking that delivery, induction, on-time performance with a solution, it helps bring that consumer experience up to a higher level from that standpoint. It's critical that you pick the right partners here from your support standpoint. There's no one system that does everything. And so taking a look at your needs, your requirements, and the combination of the different systems it's going to create your success.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks, Reg. I know obviously automation has become such a big part, and the tracking. Once you order something online, you're already checking to see when you're getting your order. It's interesting to see how the market kind of moves and big players, push it and innovation, and it's great to see. Okay, so question: are there any emerging technologies or trends in the shipping industry that can help companies streamline their shipping processes and to enhance profitability? Like, how does the warehouse/shipping solution get embedded with the carrier options out there?
It's funny, Nathan, you asked that, and I'm like, technology pushes the boundaries of the industry every single day. I feel like every single time I wake up, there is a new startup in Palo Alto, and it's like, hey, we have this software that's going to streamline this process. And I mean, the technology evolution is just constantly changing. So I'll give you an example though. So with eHUB, we started out as a USPS reseller. So we were a one-trick pony, and we've since turned into a multi-carrier shipping solution. So in relation to TechShip, when the customer makes the, prints the label or makes that API call, instead of having access to just solely USPS, they now have access to a multitude of carriers where they're able to set business rules and rate shop based off of a bunch of different carrier contracts. So what does that mean? eHUB's technology can actually analyze historical shipping data to optimize things like shipping routes, carrier rates, and it can identify areas of inefficiency in your business. So being that our API is the back end that powers TechShip, it gives the customers access to all of our carrier contracts. And I don't know, Reg, if you have anything else to add to that, but.
Yeah. I mean, this goes hand in hand with what we've been saying all along, right? Technology and the enhancement of technology in the systems. Here's a perfect example where maybe prior TechShip was taking a look at it, rate shopping with your carriers, the carriers that maybe Rob used all the time, or the 3PL used, or the customer brand used all the time, and really didn't have the reach or the depth on additional other options. And the expertise over there in the other field that can take a look at what you're doing and help you from that standpoint. Here, what we've done is we talked about OMS and WMS and TechShip from a shipping solution being all embedded. Here, being embedded with Essential Hub has changed the game totally again, because now when we're taking a look at a type of shipment, we already have rules set up, or Essential Hub has rules set up for the right carrier selection process for there. So when we make one call, we're hitting that technology, and now we have the capability to come back with maybe 20 different solutions. We're not going to use 20 different solutions, but the capability is there depending on your needs and your requirements. And I think we found this, Rob, even recently with you, where you were predominantly shipping one weight break with US Postal Service all the time, or one customer with US Postal Service all the time. We ran that analytics with Bailey's team, turned around, came back, and now you're shipping US Postal Service, but certain zones, weights, and dimensions are going out DHL e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
Because there's you recognize, I don't know how many dollars, but you recognize a huge savings from that standpoint. So it's a combination of the multi-technologies that are helping the 3PL come up with a better solution from a carrier standpoint. Totally.
And let me give you an example too. So with our USPS technology agreement with the post office, we are an official USPS technology partner. But what that means is we have the industry best rate card. However, that rate card might not cover certain weights and zones. It is a tiered and a weight-based rate card. So meaning let me give you an example. Zone 4, I think at 5 pounds, you lose your discount. So what we're able to do with TechShip is we load the USPS rate card, and then on the back end, we're also loading DHL so that anything zone 4, 5 pounds you're getting that discount through DHL. Similar transit might not be the same, so you may not be keeping the integrity of your transit, but at least you're getting that discount. And as long as you're setting expectations up front with your client for processing time, packing time, and you're under promising, over delivering, you should be good. So it's actually, it's a great way to streamline processes, is having those backup carrier options.
And I think, Rob, your customer even agreed to a day slower transit time to be able to get a better pricing model, right?
That's exactly right. And it brought them savings, but it brought savings across many other clients by being able to offer that. And, you know, for a small to medium size 3PL, it's really difficult. You don't want to spread your volume across because you need all this volume to hit the minimums or the discount tiers that you have with your primary carrier. As you grow, and if you wanted to go talk to USPS directly, you don't have enough volume to do so, to get a direct contract. So using a company like eHUB enabled us to get into that USPS. It's then allowed us to go in and look at and then add additional carriers that have brought savings, and in some cases even doing an expedited program that beats a ground program on price. So it's enabled us to play with bigger players and be competitive from a pricing standpoint and bring value to our clients.
That's a huge point, and I think we need to add on that. This is Nathan's backyard, but and he was able to work with Bailey's team to be able to come up with that. And I'll give you an example. You as a brand or as a 3PL only have so much volume. And so historically, the carrier would hold you to a certain discount level or rate structure because of that volume. What we've been able to do, which is very exciting, and thank you to the eHUB team for this, but we went to them and said, look, there's millions of shipments going across the TechShip platform regularly. If we want to really come up with a true solution for all these customers, we need to use the volumes of the entire group, not just the volume that's coming out of, in this case, Rob's 3PL, right? From that standpoint, because that only warrants X. So if you want a piece of this action, then you should help all those Techdinamics customers to be able to come up with a better volume discount. And the eHUB team, Bailey, you guys actually went back to the carriers and said, we're going to bring this much more volume on. Can we get this better discount for this group? And they did.
And a lot of it has to do with just maintaining that strong relationship with our logistics partners and ensuring that we are only trying to add value on the back end. So a lot of what we do is, I hate the word aggregator. I actually think it has a negative connotation in the industry, but we are a group that will help consult 3PLs and shippers, whether that be on the rate side or the 3PL efficiency side or the net new business side. So a lot of what we do with our carriers is we go back and negotiate, and we make sure that we get the best rate for our customers as possible.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, while we're on that subject of the best rate and carriers, obviously negotiating carrier contracts is another avenue to explore by engaging in strategic negotiations with shipping carriers. Obviously, businesses can secure more favorable rates, discounts, service agreements. So long-term partnerships with carriers can obviously lead to better pricing and more flexible options, ultimately boosting profitability. And Bailey, since you're so involved here, maybe you can, with the carriers, maybe you can take us a little further here.
Yeah, for sure. So carrier contracts and shipping margin play into the overall top line revenue of the shipper or the 3PL. So negotiating good contracts is important for many reasons, some of which include cost savings or predicting budget or understanding the baked in margin, It actually has a lot to do with the SLAs and allowing the shippers to define service level expectations. Having a multitude of carriers actually mitigates a lot of risk as well. So at eHUB, we abide by a few rules of thumbs. So, one of the most important, in my opinion, is actually understanding the scope of work. So carrier contracts are negotiated in specific niche areas of your business, meaning you have to essentially define what you want your outcome to be and what you're trying to achieve. So for example, and Rob, you and I have talked in the past about this, but, are you fighting too hard for a dim factor that won't even affect 90% of your business? Or on the contrary, if you're primarily servicing big and heavy, are you deep diving accessorial fees for handling? What are your dim factors? Are you looking at those? One of the, I think, the second most important is probably the GRI process. So for those who are listening who don't know what GRI stands for, it's the general rate increase. It happens every single year with the carriers. It's actually, it never goes down. It's always going up. So it will be the GRI for as long as the foreseeable future. And you want to make sure that your contract states that with any future GRIs, there will be either a percentage increase to the existing rates that you have, or there may be like an outlined fixed dollar amount on your contract. But regardless, you want to make sure you have something baked into your contract that says that when there is a general rate increase, that your rates are increasing, or 5-10 years down the road, it's going to be imbalanced, right? Another thing to take into consideration, super important, is as you diversify your carrier portfolio, you want to watch for minimums. And Rob touched on this. It's actually super important because if the shipper fails to meet minimums, the carrier could potentially stipulate penalties, which would drive up your costs astronomically. So you want to make sure you watch that. Pricing structure is another good one. You want to make sure that when you get your contract from the carrier that you're looking at the pricing structure. So you're looking at is it the base rate? Are you looking at the surcharge? What are the surcharges? Does the discount include fuel, or are you looking at a net rate table? Can you negotiate to remove fees based off of microeconomic issues in the market? A good rule of thumb that we go by is that typically when a shipper does not manage their contracts closely, they see an average of 8 to 10% increase annually in their carrier expenses.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's a big one. And I think too, that the dynamics of the systems needs to be able to help you from that standpoint. The day everyone says, I negotiated, and we did this for years, so it's not a wrong thing, but today it doesn't work, where we negotiated the best contract, say with a carrier, UPS or FedEx or whomever, and we said, okay, we got a great discount and we're going to run with that. And then we would take a rate card and we load that rate card into the system, and that would be the rules we operated off for the rest of the year until you renegotiate it again next year, right? Mm-hmm. Those days are gone. There's so many things happening right now from a dynamic standpoint that, your contract will say you're subject to DOS charges, delivery area service charge, right? You don't know what those are going to be, but it's in that agreement saying that it's going to happen. So now all of a sudden we just had one where it's a simple move. It's Montreal, Canada to Toronto, and it's a $6 shipment. But now all of a sudden there's a DOS charge for one particular carrier going to downtown Toronto. It just popped up, it showed up, and they added that. It's 62 cents for downtown Toronto delivery, but the next carrier didn't have it from that standpoint. So it's very dynamic what's going on. Same thing like FedEx. FedEx is 2 to 3 day service going across the country. You can get it this given month for almost the same price of ground because they need freight moving in that corridor. Or the regional carrier needs freight in a given corridor. And so the ability, and I'm referencing the ability in the eHUB system to be able to do that, but the ability to get those dynamic rates plugged into your rate shop or your lookup is key, and that's where the technology helps.
Yeah, I mean, and Reg, I think you hit it on the head there. And when I go back to saying, negotiating based off of microeconomic issues, right now the market's pretty soft. The carriers want volume, they're willing to negotiate. And so I think that a lot of the negotiation power is with the brand. The great aspect about technology is that it happens live. So, through eHUB, we are directly hitting the Postal Services API. We had a rate change back in July, I want to say. Gosh, it feels like it was 10 years ago, but it was July. And, our rates were updated live. So for us, it's just about making sure we're providing the industry best rate as it happens. And yeah, so it's an interesting game, and you have to make sure you're paying attention to what the industry is doing.
Yeah, great points. Lots of good stuff to focus on when negotiating with the different carriers. Now, obviously, talking with carriers, a big part of that can be rate shopping. So let's shift into focusing a little more on rate shopping. Obviously, rate shopping involves comparing and evaluating shipping rates from carriers to find the most cost-effective options. Leveraging freight markups and utilizing rate shopping tools can obviously help businesses uncover competitive rates, resulting in substantial cost savings overall. So, Reg, why don't you take us through the concepts of rate shopping, why it's important for businesses in the shipping industry, and how to do it?
Yeah, well, first I want to qualify rate shopping is a little misleading terminology when you think about it. The first thing that comes to mind is everybody says, okay, I have this package, it's going from A to B, and I want the cheapest rate. And even though it may not meet the customer's requirements, the cheapest rate may come in at a U.S. Postal Service ground service, and that's a label that would have been selected. It's not about that any longer. When we talk about rate shopping and advanced rate shopping tools inside of, say, our system, TechShip, it's not just about the cheapest rate. There's so many factors that come into play. And although it could be just plain and simple, get me the cheapest rate no matter what happens, in many cases, that's not the case. There's many other factors. So I expand on this from a customer requirement standpoint. It could be shipment demands or mix of freight. It could be whether I'm shipping third party or not, or shipping on behalf of, types of services, carrier selection, multiple options, whether I'm including air and ground, and those demands are in the customer's requirements from that standpoint. I still want to be able to take a look at my freight options, but I may, in that tool, not necessarily be selecting the cheapest freight rate. I may be selecting the best freight rate or carrier for that solution for the customer. So you can't get caught up in saying, oh, I do rate shopping. Well, everybody does rate shopping and gets the cheapest rate. It's not about that. It's about where the customer demands fall into play. And is your technology capable of being able to look at all those demands on the fly while you're picking and processing that order? And you don't want to stop. You don't want the operator to be thinking about it. They just want to scan and go. If we have to look at multiple induction points, and I use the example, we just got through this, and shipments going into the US from Canada, a 5-pound shipment going Toronto to Atlanta, the best rate across all the carriers was like $12.11. But you know what? Change the induction point, make the induction point not Toronto, make it Buffalo, ship it to Atlanta. It cost me 37 cents to 40 cents to get it across the border every night. And now that package from Buffalo to Atlanta is only $8.90. Huge difference then. So did I get the cheapest rate? Was that the best aspect? No, other alternatives had to be looked at the same time. And so when you reference rate shopping, you have to be very careful. It's not just about the cheapest rate. It's about having the technology that can look at all the options the customer needs.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Reg. And Rob, obviously as a 3PL, what would be the key factors that a business should consider when rate shopping for shipping services? Are there specific criteria or variables that should be taken into account?
Yeah, just jumping back to what Rich said, I was kind of smiling because everybody wants the cheapest rate until they're an executive at their company or their boss gets the package and it's 10 days late from when they were expecting to get it. So that's what we really try to do is understand with our client, what are they really looking to do, and do that up front. And then it may evolve over time, and you may adjust it over time as you have different offerings, or maybe they have a different go-to-market strategy that they're doing. But really working with your clients to understand what they're trying to achieve, from order to delivery timing, the packaging that's going to go into, the shipping options, how they're selling the shipping. Is it free? We used to be that everybody threw it out there as free, then it's now changed to free at a certain dollar amount. What are you really trying to achieve with it? Are you going to also offer a free for next day if it's above this type of order volume or dollar value? So really looking at what they're trying to achieve. And as I said, that may evolve over time. Then we do the work to build out the different options with our carriers and their different service levels. We set these each by client. We adjust them by client because every client's a little bit different and they do evolve. Some are simple, like always ground and cheapest. Other clients are more concerned about time in transit. We set these parameters by like service levels between the carriers and then test it with our clients. We tweak that over time, and as we add up new offerings, our client preferences change, both permanently or for a sale, as an example. We are able to pull the reporting to look at the rate shop for sample orders or real data and review the results with our clients. It's always interesting when the service and rate that win are not what you would have expected, or what a client had used in the past and was adamant was the best for their business and lowest cost. It's really a collaborative process with our clients, and they gain a lot of confidence in us as a partner and our knowledge throughout this process.
Yeah, no, interesting points. Definitely with the technology, the right carriers, people have in their mind, oh, this is the way it has to go. And then, through setting up the right carriers and technology, it can just find things that would take way too long for people to figure out, on the fly. So,
and I laugh, you guys, because the amount of times that I've been approached by a shipper and they say, I want the best rate. I want the cheapest rate. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll get you the cheapest rate, but here are some things to take into consideration. There may not be end-to-end tracking. You might not get a signature option. You might not get carrier insurance. They're like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's all good. I just want the cheapest rate. And then all of a sudden their customer support uptick is like 20% the next month. And I'm like, I tried to tell you and you didn't listen to me. So like to dovetail off of Rob and Reg's point is, finding the cheapest rate is not necessarily always the way to go. You really have to listen to your customer and in understanding what their average order value is. For example, consolidators, great option. However, if you're shipping diamond rings and that are worth $30,000, the likelihood of lost packages in transit are higher with consolidators because you have more hands touching the package, right? So you don't want to ship high valued items through a DHL ground. And you might want to, but I wouldn't recommend it based off of the type of product you're shipping.
Yeah. No, great points. And, just to go back to you, Bailey, how can businesses effectively compare and evaluate shipping rates and services, to make those informed decisions? Like, are there any tools, resources that, you would recommend or you've seen in this process?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think with ratings specifically, the way that eHUB does it is always apples to apples, meaning we compare service level to service level and we do not give up the integrity of the transit or the service level itself. So, we wouldn't compare like a priority mail to a ground service. It's just simply not the same service level. So when I talk about listening to your customer and understanding what their need is, that's kind of what I go back to. If they are looking for, or they're willing to give up their transit time, then we'll rate it against that. But if they want an expedited service, then we're going to give them an expedited service. It's really just about comparing the right rate to the right rate and understanding the cost structure. With a priority mail service, typically that was like a 2 to 3 day service. However, it's not a guaranteed service. So sometimes you have to look at like, is it a guaranteed service? Do they want it within 2 days? Is it an overnight service? And in that case, you can't compare it to a priority mail. So just stuff like that is super important to take into consideration. And as far as tools to do it, there's lots of ways that you can rate. You can do it through, technologies like the eHUB API, where they give you a rate instantaneously. And you can do it through softwares like TechShip or your WMS, where you have the ability to go in and set up business parameters around how you want to ship. Watching minimums and making sure that certain carriers are designated to certain clients and, or a specific carrier rate to a specific box, for example, FedEx One rate. So those are all things that you can program within your software, or you can run it through a technology like eHUB.
Yeah. Great. Now kind of on that, having gone through rate shopping, carriers, getting the package, the tracking, one part of the whole supply chain that's not going away, but a lot of people, can pull their hair out about is returns and reverse logistics. It's obviously an essential part to consider for profitability because, it's always going to be there in some fashion. So implementing effective returns processes and optimizing reverse logistics operations, businesses can obviously minimize costs associated with returns and ensure a smooth and cost-efficient process. So, we can kind of all go through this because, there's a lot to kind of uncover with returns, but maybe Bailey, start us out. And yeah.
Well, I'm happy to start us out because I actually fall more on the side of, I love returns. I avidly shop and I will pick multiple items out and then I will return what doesn't fit. So just laying the groundwork though for the landscape. So returns doubled in COVID. So in post-COVID, e-commerce grew by roughly 20% and was projected to continue growing at that rate. So it was something that 3PLs and shippers alike got thrusted into, and most of them were not prepared. In fact, shippers today still struggle to profit on the returns process. Sometimes I walk myself through warehouse visits and on-sites, and there is a stack of product in the back corner of the warehouse. And I would say more often than not, it's actually the product being returned by the consumer. So I think that today we still struggle to profit on that process. In fact, I think, it's created a lot of opportunity for return software to emerge, which is exciting. But let me just give some statistics because I want to make sure I get these out in the open so we can discuss them. But in today's climate, before the consumer purchases an item, over 60% of individuals will examine the return policy. 30% of online shoppers today actively seek ways to overspend and return the products that they don't want. I am included in that statistic. And only a minority of retailers offer free return shipping. I will talk more about the free return shipping as we move forward with the conversation, but it is something to take into consideration with returns and profitability with returns.
Yeah, I think returns, reverse logistics as a total topic is a bit of a monster in itself. And let's face it, returns is e-commerce is growing. It's still growing, and returns is Achilles' heel, right? It's no brand, no retailer, nobody wants to handle returns coming back through the system. In the 3PL world, we have all our customers right now. And, we do business with hundreds of different 3PLs, and there's a lot of them don't even handle many returns, but they want to get into the business of handling returns because they're afraid that if they don't, it'll go to somebody else that can handle returns, and now they're not managing it. So this is a big technology play in itself in being able to manage returns and bringing, like we talked about before, internally in the warehouse, bringing systems together. We're going to need to be doing that even more so, whether it's returns magic on Shopify, connecting to by integration to point B system, saying here's an inbound receipt coming into you, and then what do you do disposition with it. Rate shopping returns is a big issue that I know we're working on a program with the Central Hub right now to help streamline returns processing from that standpoint. Nobody gives a decent rate or a decent discount on returns. They might give you a great outbound rate or discount, but you're not getting the same one on the return side. So those opportunities are big to take a look at. And so we started creating little add-on programs that, you know, you could just go in, say I want to generate a return, you get an RMA from the customer, it just simply reverses it, brings the shipment back to you and instantly prints a label for you that you can send to the customer, or let your brand come into your software and create that return label themselves and send it to their customer. So there's a lot of things happening on the reverse logistics side. There's a lot of large groups like Inmar, like groups like Navar that are working on different programs, but there's no one total solution yet. And it's kind of broken pieces all the way through. So we need to really look at your tech stack, look at what you're trying to accomplish there, and then talk to your partners and see how we can help you.
Mhm.
Yeah. All great points. Returns is definitely something to think about and not just put on the back burner. Now, going from returns, you know, another big thing, you know, people generally have questions about would be international orders. International shipping offers both opportunities, but also, of course, challenges. Expanding shipping operations internationally can open doors to new markets, but it also requires careful consideration of customs, regulations, duties, and of course, the whole logistics of the shipping side. So by understanding the intricacies of international shipping, businesses can maximize profitability while still serving a global customer base, which is, you know, obviously huge in today's market. You can buy something online from anywhere and you want it shipped anywhere. So maybe Rob, you know, you can discuss a little bit about, you know, how you guys accomplish this and some insights there.
We could make a whole podcast on international.
Oh, I know.
Like we could do a whole overhaul.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very big topic. You know, international is not a huge part of our business. It's around 10 to 15% of our shipments are going internationally. You know, is going back a few years, that was closer to 5%. So it is growing, and it can be a great opportunity for both your clients and the 3PL. Similar to my earlier answer on rate shopping for domestic, it's the same for international. There's just a few other pieces of information that you really need to capture. In order to ship in to other countries, you need to be complying with duties and taxes. For that information, you need to have the price of the product, the country of origin that it was made in, and the harmonized codes to deal with all those duties and taxes. I can't tell you the number of customers that we've brought on that said, no, we only ship domestically, and then the very first week they're shipping into Canada and didn't think that counted as another country. Certainly Canada does. Whether the duties and taxes are going to be prepaid by the shipper or unpaid and paid by the recipient when they receive the product. The timing of the delivery that they're looking to get into. Then we can take all that information and, very similar to the domestic rate shopping, get them set up. Electronic customs filing versus paper is all handled through the system. And one little interesting story that we had is we had a client that was only makes tools for woodworking, and they were only really selling within North America. And we kind of challenged them, and just looking at some of one of our customer service people had looked and saw all the interest there was on their site about shipping it to Australia and New Zealand and so forth. And we really pushed them on it, and they had avoided it because of fears over transit times and the cost to ship and how that would impact their margins. We were able to build them a program, and they now ship more internationally than domestically, and at margins that were in line to higher than their domestic shipments. So the tool really enabled this for them, and it really helped them grow their business.
That's awesome.
That comes down to technology, right, Rob? You know, you just because it's international, it shouldn't be any different than domestic. You should be able to scan and go, create the carrier label, and be able to do it. So your systems need to have the information and the capabilities to be able to handle it. It doesn't matter whether you're shipping on an ACE manifest or Section 321 going into another country. From that standpoint, you got to have the tools, You got to be able to do electronic data transfers. You got to have all that in place from a technology standpoint. And once you do, international can become as simple as shipping domestic.
Yeah.
I qualify that, Bailey, sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And obviously, with everything that we've, great points on international shipping, like you said, we could spend all day on this, but we've covered a lot of topics, and a lot of this kind of goes back to customer satisfaction. As different companies innovate and change, it's going to push customer expectations and satisfaction. And so the customer satisfaction and shipping go hand in hand. Providing an exceptional shipping experience can lead to customer loyalty, repeat business. So obviously it's, very important to be investing in reliable shipping methods, offering tracking options, and ensuring timely deliveries. Business can enhance their customer service and ultimately drive more revenue through, some of these things. So, Bailey, maybe you can take us through a little more about, customer satisfaction, how you can address it and some of the factors driving it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Customer satisfaction is everything to brands because it's how you retain a loyal client base. So having customer satisfaction is also good for the shipper because it can lower overhead expenses by reducing customer uptick. So a few ways to ensure customer satisfaction through shipping are, clear shipping policies. I can't stress this one enough. It's actually something that a lot of companies fail at today. So clearly communicating shipping policies will ensure customer satisfaction over time. So this includes anything from delivery times to costs to any potential delays. Meaning you need to take into consideration processing times and packing times. Our rule of thumb is always under promise and over deliver because the customer then cannot be unhappy at the end of the day. For example, during peak season, I always recommend to brands to have something in their shipping page when you have your confirmation that comes up to the customer that says, we're in the middle of peak season, and maybe not this actual vernacular, but something along the lines of, we're in the middle of peak season. Our processing is taking up to 2 to 3 days. We will send you tracking information once it gets to the carrier, and then the carrier takes the tracking. So just making sure that you're always being prepared with the most up-to-date information and you're setting clear expectations. At that point, your customer can't really be unhappy. And so that kind of leads me into my second topic though, providing multiple ways to ship. So whether that be ground, expedited, or overnight options. In fact, 42% of consumers expect now a 2-day shipping option, which kind of speaks to Reg's point about Amazon forging this model of same day, next day. So I think it's pertinent that brands are keeping up to date with that expectation from the consumer. In fact, 77% of consumers said that they are more likely to shop from a brand if there is a 2-day option. Once again, I think we can all blame Amazon for that. And then, so as far as considering offering free or discounted shipping for orders above a certain price point, it's another good way to retain business. So essentially what you do is you choose a minimum order value that customers need to reach in order for them to qualify for a free shipping method. So you do that by analyzing your profit margins, and you make sure that you're adding in the shipping portion and that it is still profitable at the end of the day. So those are a few rules of thumb that we use on a consumer standpoint. But for the shipper itself, it's super important to maintain those logistics relationships. I think at the end of the day, the carrier space is, for lack of a better term, it's pretty dog eat dog. So if you can remain, in the know with what's going on with your carrier rep, it will just help the longevity of your relationship.
Great. Thanks, Bailey. Now on to obviously something we mentioned at the beginning, how to make money in shipping. Obviously 3PLs are doing a lot of the shipping work, picking, packing, doing all the shipping. And so freight markups can obviously significantly impact shipping costs for businesses. So kind of the question here would be, how can companies determine the appropriate, markup, the percentage, to ensure profitability while still offering that savings to their customer, the better rate than they're able to get. So it's, that win-win scenario. So maybe, Rob, as, the 3PL, and Reg, you can dive into this one a little bit more and tell us your insights here.
Yeah, will not be giving out rates or markup percentages, but I will talk about how we establish those for our clients. And really, what it comes down to is we price it similarly to how we price all of our other services, albeit at a lower rate. In our view, there's a cost to pass through costs, so there should be a markup to cover that cost. If I'm going to pass through the cost of a box, I still had to acquire that box, warehouse that box, pay interest potentially on it before I can bill you and then wait for you to pay for it. So those are costs. And some of the other areas that we look at for cost related to freight is, the time to negotiate contracts, add partners. That's certainly gotten easier with eHUB, but there still is a good amount of work that goes on there, and it's not a low-cost employee that's doing that type of work. The systems that you need to support to enable the use of the different carriers, the float of the dollars spent until you are paid for them. So if you shipped it today, you bill every 30 days, and then you give a customer 30 days to pay, that float has a cost to you. The leverage that you have, as you grow and are able to negotiate these great rates, you've earned that. You should get a return on that work and bring a margin to your company. Some companies pay for consultants or services to negotiate with the carriers. That has a cost to it. So all those things factor into what your cost is for the service. And we look at shipping as a service. Then you need to make a return on your dollars. We're not in a high margin business where you can just give things away. So you can't put out cash without a return, or you'll starve your business of cash, which is the key for staying in business. We look to be both fair to our client and to ourselves. As you add new services or carriers, you will reduce the billable dollars and margin dollars, even if the markup stays the same. We did this a number of years ago when we were only using FedEx and we were getting pushed as our B2C volume grew. We added in USPS, kept them at the same markups. Well, that had an impact, obviously, on our revenue and our margin dollars. So it's you likely have to do it, and you want to keep driving down the cost for your clients. That's certainly what we're trying to do, but you need to make a return on that and be considering that as you do add these services and what rates and markups you use for them.
It's good comments there, Rob. One of the things that I took off of that is you said, how do you be fair about it, right, from that standpoint? And again, it goes back to, I'm going to say this again, the technology and the capabilities. And you may have situations where you want to mark up certain freight or mark down from list price or change the discount or markup based off service levels. And I'll give you an example. I may be very fair with the customer because, ground services local are very aggressive. And so maybe there's a very small markup on that. Maybe there's 4, 5, 6, 7% markup on it, right? From that standpoint, don't hold me to the markups. I'm just using examples. But
noting all of this, Reg, for our contract.
But the system needs the ability to not just do that, but also take a look at maybe a different service level that has more margin in it for the customer, or the customer's customer is paying for that, and maybe that can be at 10%, right? Or maybe this weight class or this weight break, so many pounds going to this zone, I can't afford a markup in there, but in the next zone, I can afford to add this much more markup. So you are being very fair with the customer, trying to figure that out and still get what you need to have to be able to make it, a profitable situation for everybody. And you've done the work, like you said, Rob, already in getting them better rates anyway from the get-go. So that's just a part of doing business. But the tool and the new things, for example, we're implementing in advanced rate shopping modes are all those issues, zones, weight breaks, tariff, discount, markup, markdown, off of list versus there's a multiple of different things you need to be able to do. You just have to have the systems in place to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and to go off both of your guys' points, I think it also is contingent on the amount of risk that you're taking on. So if you have a client, net 30, and they want minimal markups because they're massive, and you kind of have to sit there and assess, is this worth it to me? Is this worth it to the company? If they don't pay us for X amount of time, how much money are we going to lose? So a part of the markup process, I think, is also about assessing the risk of the client.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And just one thing, to add to that, obviously I've, seen this in many different ways. When people hear markup, they think it's going to cost more, but with those rate shopping tools, the technology, you're most of the time you're adding savings to your customer compared to what they would be able to get. And so it's just the cost of doing business. They're going to save money. You're going to, be profitable. So it's a key point to kind of look at and have a plan for it. Now we've covered a lot of topics here, so we'll kind of go through this one a little bit quicker. But lastly, let's discuss the importance of data analytics and the insights of making shipping profitable. Obviously, in order to be profitable in shipping, having that data, leveraging the data and understanding the shipping operations, businesses can obviously use this to gain valuable insights into the shipping costs, delivery times, and the customer overall behavior. This data-driven approach, doing some kind of analysis, will allow more informed decisions, identifying areas for cost optimization, and how you can improve your overall operation. And so I'm sure all three of you, have things to say about looking at the data from different perspectives, so let's jump into, the data analytics and what we should be looking at. And maybe Bailey, you can start us off.
Yeah, well, eHUB is a data company, so I'm not quite sure how in the weeds that we're going to get, especially because you're cutting us in time. But what I will say, and Reg can absolutely speak to this, but data is everything. If you're not constantly optimizing your efficiency because of historical data, you are behind the curve. And I'll give you an example. So zone skip, for example, if you're a warehouse in New York or New Jersey, and you're shipping 90% of your packages to California and you're using like a priority mail service, you are losing a ton of money. So in that instance, I would say maybe a zone skip strategy might be better, or maybe another solution that will lower your shipping expenses. So it's stuff like that where you have to be using your data at all times to optimize the way that you are shipping. Another one, time in transit. We look a lot at clients' time in transit, and we want to make sure that throughout the United States, if they are a shipper and they abide by 2 days, like we are a 2-day shipper, we get our packages to the door in 2 days, then we want to make sure that we're setting them up with carriers across the region that will fulfill that need for them. Does that make sense? So it's constantly using data to make yourself more efficient. And Reg, again, it goes back to the technology you're using and how you're using it and your ability to evolve with it. And, I think another place where we lack technology is in the returns process. So I'm excited to see moving forward what we can do in that area.
I think you said it best there, Bailey. It's about technology. It's about having APIs to be able to pull down reports. It's about the reporting capabilities, and it's about mining that data. We have fulfillment centers right now that freight has become their number one revenue source, but yet they have managed to give the customer larger freight discounts than the customer ever got before. Mm-hmm. So that's being fair, Rob. That's the mix there where they've done the work. They've been able to grow with some freight revenue on that standpoint, and it's become now number one in their income stream. But yet the customers are happy because they are getting discounts that they weren't getting before. And so you're not able to do that unless you have the tools in place to be able to review that data, analyze it, and then may be able to tweak certain things, like we talked about earlier, whether it's by zone, by weight breaks, by service levels, whatever the case may be. But it is all about data.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I'd just add that I would vehemently agree that data is king, and we're looking for data in all aspects. Whether it's quoting new business from a customer, we want to get as much data as we possibly can to properly price that deal. And then even on the back end and some of the tools, the techTALK, we do distributions for their product launches or to influencer kits, which 3 years ago, who knew what an influencer kit was? But now we all know pretty well who those influencers are. And we have to get those kits out, and we need them all to hit on exactly the same day. So we can use that rate shop, ship them different services, but have the assurance that they're going to get there. And then by using techTALK, be able to show exactly when it was delivered, who signed for it, et cetera, depending on the level of service we're using. Give that information back to our clients, and their minds are blown, because in the past, that would have required an account manager going in and checking each one, which one hadn't gotten there. This is a click of a button. We have that data and can provide that to our clients. It's really valuable.
And data it's so fascinating what you can do with data, because then you get into predictive analytics and you get into demand forecasting, and then all of a sudden you're able to make informed business decisions around something that hasn't even happened yet due to historical data. So it's of the utmost importance to constantly be analyzing your data.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now that's the last point we were going to discuss, but yeah, it's not something to overlook. That's for sure. Data is huge, can drive a lot of decisions and help your business in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, today we've obviously covered a wide range of strategies, practices. All of this was aimed at helping your business win new customers through the shipping process, and to essentially make money in shipping. Remember, it's a combination of all these factors put together. It's not a one quick fix for anything. But yeah, thanks. That brings us to the end of today's episode on how to make money shipping. We hope you've enjoyed the discussion, the insights. I've learned a lot myself from some of the experts we've had on the panel. If you do have any questions or would like to share your experiences with us, please feel free to reach out on our media channels or through our website, which will be posted with QR codes. You'll have access, or you'll have a QR code for each one of us. So you'll see Bailey at eHUB, Rob at Point B, and Reg at Techdinamics. But always, thank you for tuning in to Tech Talk. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll continue to explore exciting topics related to the world of shipping, logistics. But until then, keep shipping and keep thriving.
Keep shipping and keep thriving and make some money.